cannot be her. Wow, Catalonia. She got to go to Catalonia. Oh,
how exciting.
I'm surprised she got in there. Good for her.
Yeah.
I did not think they were like letting us Americans or us, all of us infected people in there, but hey.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm impressed that she got in. That's very, very good. Okay, so hola. Bienvenidos. Welcome to everybody. And okay, today's going to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, because we've got just all kinds of fun things. And I some things I wasn't going to do, but then I'm always like cruising for things. And then I find something and go, oh, this kind of ties to what we were doing. And I change everything to fit that in. So, okay. Vamos a empezar. We are going to work pedir and preguntar. So I do want to show you so that you can get it ready, so that you have time to get it ready. Because, if you don't have time, it's a pain in the patootie. So, okay. This little page that I had, was it pedir? Oh, yeah, because we hadn't finished the bottom half.
Mm-hmm.
Sí, voy a engrandecer todo. I'm going to make it all big. Yeah, see, esto aquí, this here. This is what we're going to be pulling up, this pedir and preguntar thing. After our videos, hay dos videos. There are two very fun videos. And these very fun videos do talk about ordering. They talk about ordering. Now there's one thing she's going to mention. What was it? Oh yeah, we're going to talk about ordering beer and ordering coffee. Or pedir, ordering beer and ordering coffee, how to do it. And these are like fast things, but one is interesting because it's very involved. Now I don't know if it's quite that involved when you're ordering coffee in Mexico as it is in Spain. In Spain, it's quite involved because there's so many types of coffee. And wow, she could have used this before going off to Barcelona. But we're going to work off of one, and that you'll get a tiny bit of the pedir and preguntar thing. And momentito. A ver.
My friend's husband in Barcelona has a coffee shop. Could have
found
out.
And he invited us all to visit.
Okay, but it is kind of fun to know that there are all these differentiations between what you can order. Now, even with the beer, there will be differences, but at least the differences between ordering the beer will be less than they are with the coffee. Okay. Vamos a ver, but es útil, it really is useful because of course, here are two of the beverages that we very frequently do order when we're traveling out and about. So do keep in mind that these are both from Spain, so there are going to be some differences. El café primero.
Hola, buenas tardes. Hoy vamos a hablar de los tipos de café que se pueden pedir en el centro de España.
Los tipos de café, the types of coffee. So the variations, it's worse than Starbucks because, yeah, las combinaciones.
Primero, empezamos con el café solo. En otros países se llama espresso.
So café solo is black coffee, but strong black coffee. Really strong. First time I ordered this, somebody asked me, con azúcar? With sugar? And I very bravely said, no, because I did not know. And they looked at me like, you serious? Wow. And yeah, that'll rot your teeth out real fast. Okay, café solo, café solo.
Seguimos con un cortado. Un cortado es un café solo con muy poquita leche.
Muy poquita de leche, just a little bit. Café cortado es muy popular. This is very, very popular. Café cortado. And think of cortado. Cortado literally means cut. So they're cutting the espresso with a dash of milk, but it really is a dash with café cortado. It will not look like a huge cup. con solo un poco de leche, a little bit of milk. That's
Luego
it.
tenemos un café con leche, que es un café solo con un poquito más de leche que el café cortado.
Ok, café con leche, la cantidad de leche es más grande. Sí, con leche, aunque sí, un cortado sí tiene leche, cortado does have milk, pero una cantidad muy pequeña. Aquí café con leche hay más leche.
El carajillo. El carajillo es café solo con coñac quemado para quitar un poco la graduación del alcohol, unos granos de café y un poquito de limón.
Carajillo. Coñac. ¡Yay! Coñac en el café. Coñac, limón, granos de café y café solo.
Luego tenemos el bombón, que es leche condensada con café solo.
Okay, bombón. Me encanta el nombre bombón. Bombón is really a little thing of chocolate. You know, normally bombón is a chocolate, little round chocolate. But bombón here is a type of a way they serve coffee. Leche condensada. Muy dulce, muy dulce. Café solo, expreso con leche condensada. Aquí al fondo, way at the bottom, al fondo, la leche condensada. You see how that just sinks right to the bottom.
Mhm.
Ah.
Existen diferentes variaciones de todos estos cafés. Por ejemplo, pedirlo en taza, pedirlo en vaso. Por ejemplo, el café solo con hielo.
Con hielo.
Podemos pedir también infusiones o tés. El té no es lo mismo que la infusión. El té tiene teína y la infusión no. Por ejemplo, la manzanilla o camomila es una infusión, pero el té verde, el té negro son tés. Todo tiene una bolsita de la infusión de la hierba en agua caliente.
Teína es como cafeína. Cafeína es teína. Caffeine is what they call their teína. Infusión no tiene teína. Infusión es más como herbal tea. Infusión, an herbal tea of some type. As opposed to like green tea or black tea, té verde, té negro, you know.
Bueno, pues ahora hay que bebérselos todos.
Cafeína, sí. Ok, sí, mucha cafeína. El resultado de mucha cafeína. That's what happens to you with lots and lots of caffeine. Okay. A ver, and I would think that really the cortado and the café con leche are probably the most common out of all those variations that you see. You do see a greater variation of people ordering coffee who will like ask for it in a glass, in un vaso. You know, much more so than here. Here in the States, you see coffee served in a glass very, very infrequently. But I think it's just a European thing. In many countries in Europe, you will see it served often with a glass. So, okay. Y el otro, the other. And here she's going to use a different verb that is not pedir, It is not pedir, and she's going to talk about ordering, that formal versus friendly version, and we'll talk a little bit about that too.
Hola, buenas tardes. Hoy vamos a aprender frases típicas de una camarera en un bar, qué responder y cómo pedir la cuenta.
¿Cómo pedir la cuenta? How to ask for the bill.
Empezamos con las
La
preguntas
cuenta, por favor.
y nuestras posibles respuestas.
Camarera, so she's playing
¿Qué te
waitress.
pongo?
¿Qué te pongo? ¿Qué te pongo? What should I put in front of you? ¿Qué te pongo? They like to use poner. And I think even in Mexico, you do hear this a fair amount. Me pones. Can you put this in front of me? Me pones. Me pones. ¿Qué te pongo? What should I put in front of you? Now, notice she's using te. And what should I put in front of you? And she's using the familiar you. So notice that because she's going to kind of roll with that. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit when she finishes.
Ponme una cerveza. Es importante entender que en España normalmente se habla de tú.
Okay. En España normalmente se habla de tú. In Spain, they normally will ask you in a less familiar form. And I know we always teach you that we use a formal thing in a formal setting. I think the feeling here is twofold, and it depende. I have to say that really depends. As she is a millennial speaking in a millennial milieu, en el ambiente de los millennials, in the ambiance of millennials, their tendency in a bar situation with other millennials, even if they don't know the bartender, is going to be to use tú a little more than we would maybe be comfortable with as adults. I think her being a millennial has something to do with that. And also just that I think in a younger crowd, they tend to not use that formal usted quite so much. That tendency to flip into a formal or an informal, a friendly tú way of addressing each other is just kind of what they do, okay? So, if you're in doubt, use usted. If they're in doubt and you're an older person, it's a younger waiter or bartender, they may ask this as, ¿Qué le pongo? ¿Qué le pongo? What should I put in front of you? They may. So you kind of take your cue from how the barkeep or the waiter or waitress will ask you, ¿Qué te pongo? Ponme. Put it in front of me. Ponme. There's the pon command. But if it's a formal order, a formal command, it will be póngame, póngame, póngame una cerveza. Literally, it's kind of like saying, hit me with a beer. Póngame, put it in front of me. Literally, put it in front of me. Póngame.
Muy raro hablar de usted. ¿Qué vas a tomar? Pues una cerveza, por favor.
Oh, wow, that flipped pretty fast. So a different way of them asking, ¿Qué vas a tomar? This again goes back, you never know how they're going to ask you. Depends on how the waitress or bartender or waiter, what they feel like and your age and what they think is, ¿Qué vas a tomar? ¿Qué va a tomar? They're going to be very polite. ¿Qué va a tomar? If you're walking in as a person not in their 20s, they may address you as usted. ¿Qué va a tomar? Right? Una cerveza, and you may just answer with the drink that you want. Una cerveza, por favor.
¿Qué va a ser? Una cerveza.
What'll it be? Here's what'll it be? ¿Qué va a ser? Literally, what is it going to be? ¿Qué va a ser? Okay. So here are the three things they may ask you. See? ¿Qué te pongo? What should I put in front of you? ¿Qué va a hacer? Right? You know, I mean, they may ask any of these ways. Depends on what they feel like.
¿Qué te traigo? Tráeme una cerveza, por favor.
And here's another one. Here's one of the ones we practiced. ¿Qué te traigo? What should I bring to you? We're both in the same place. You're already walked in. It's not going to be llevar. Right? Right? ¿Qué te traigo? What should I bring for you? Tráeme. Tráeme, there's the familiar. Tráeme, but if it's a formal command of bring me a beer, tráigame. Traiga. Traiga. Traiga is a command that comes from traigo. Ponga is a command that comes from pongo originally. The way we get to those commands is to take pongo, get rid of the o off of pongo and make it ponga. We take traigo, I bring, we get rid of the o off the end of traigo and we make it traiga. Traiga. But here is the familiar command that she uses, traiga. And now she's going to show you after all this, the sizes of the beers, which is fun.
Vamos ahora con otras frases muy importantes. ¿Cómo pedir la cuenta?
Cómo pedir la cuenta, how to ask for the bill, right? Because they are less, you know, unless it's a really crowded situation, they are less eager to push you out the door. You know, I mean, that whole thing of, you know, move them out. If you're going to stay and order more, they're not going to push you so much to leave. So you do have to ask for the bill.
¿Qué te debo?
¿Qué te debo? What do I owe you? But now, the formal what do I owe you? ¿Qué le debo? ¿Qué le debo? Because what do I owe? I owe money, obviously, yeah? So there really is no direct object there. ¿Qué le debo? What do I owe you? Would be the formal you. ¿Qué le debo?
¿Cuánto es?
¿Cuánto es? How much is it? That's another way you can ask. ¿Cuánto es?
Oye, cuando puedas. Aquí es muy importante hacer el gesto de escribir.
Oh, sí, momentito. And this, I think, is the most common. Oye, cuando puedas. Oye, and oye is hey. But the formal, hey you, is oiga. Oiga, because they take oigo. They drop the o off of the end of oigo, and it becomes oiga. Oiga is the really common way of saying hey to somebody, but oiga for a formal situation. Oiga cuando pueda, or in a friendly form, oye cuando puedas. Of course, if you've offered maybe 3 drinks, maybe by that time you're on a 2 basis anyway, so you know, no importa, doesn't matter.
Hacer el gesto de escribir con la mano.
And that is that, yes, do that. Sometimes really all you need to do is to like look at your waiter, you make eye contact, and you do that in the air, and that's it. He knows from that. Because sometimes, you know, if it is busy, y hay mucha gente, there are a lot of people around, you're not going to call out and he's not going to hear you. So you put your arm up like that so he can see it. And that's it. He knows what you want. So.
¿Me cobras?
Me cobra. Me cobras. Me cobra. Cobrar is to charge somebody a fee for whatever. You know, for that matter, if somebody comes to your house and they want to do landscaping, you know, like on occasion, someone will drive by my house and say, that palm tree looks terrible, because it does, you know, and they go on about it. And, ¿Cuánto me cobra? How much are you charging me? That's the first thing I ask. And I go, oh, yeah. ¿Cuánto me cobra? ¿Cuánto me cobra? How much are you charging me? But for familiar, ¿cuánto me cobras? How much are you charging me? So, you can do that. That might be a harder one for you to remember to use. Cobrar is to charge a fee.
¿Me traes la cuenta cuando puedas? Si
Yeah,
te ha-
me traes la cuenta. Oh, wow. Where did our cups of beer go? These go by so fast. Yeah, me traes, or me trae. Will you bring me? Me trae la cuenta cuando puedas.
Si te ha gustado, suscríbete y dale a la campanita.
¡Uh!
Y déjame un comentario. Hasta pronto.
Es otro. It's another one. Oh, es otro. El tamaño de las cervezas. Momentito. Linguriosa. Cerveza. Es importante ver la cantidad. It's important to see the quantities of these beers. Okay. Una cosita más.
Hola, buenas tardes. Hoy vamos a hablar de los diferentes tamaños de la cerveza.
Tamaños, sizes, because the size of the beer matters. And of course, here, there may be some things that kind of compare. There will be some terms that don't compare. We'll talk a little about beers in Mexico too. Some of you may know these.
Una caña.
Cerveza de grifo. Grifo is the tap. Grifo is the tap. Cervezas de grifo is, ordering off the tap.
Una caña son 25 centilitros.
25 centilitros. Caña. Here's the size of a caña.
Un tercio, por favor. Un tercio son 33 centilitros.
So it's kind of goes by quarters. Caña is kind of a quarter, 20, 25, 28. Here's a tercio. It's bigger. Es más grande. Tercio.
Una jarra, por favor. Una jarra son 50 centilitros, o sea,
Una jarra. Jarra, literalmente jar. Literally, that's a jar. Yeah. Kind of looks like a jar.
medio litro.
Medio litro. Half a liter.
Pues ahora hay que bebérsela.
So,
Se me ha ido por el otro lado.
okay, so jarra, I guess that would kind of translate to kind of a pint, if you're in Britain, kind of close to a pint, or más grande, maybe bigger. I know if you go to Germany, of course, they have some of these differences too, and like how big your beer winds up being. So, yeah, importa, it matters. In Mexico, I know a word they like to use a lot. For ordering beer. Is this word instead of caña. Caña is probably the most common, because if you're just stopping in for a quick drink with your friends, caña, that 25, 25er. But I know in Mexico, les gusta this word chela a lot. Chela. Chela is a real common term used for ordering a beer. And it's a normal bottle size beer, chela. Normal bottle size. I don't know if they use the tercio en la jarra down there, but chela you do hear all the time. You hear less of the caña and more of the chela. So there are all kinds of slangs for different beers, but in Europe they have, all these sizes, kind of like what you would expect to see in Germany. but yeah. Okay. A ver. Ok. Bueno, sí. Bien. Vamos a practicar con pedir. We're going to take our pedir up front, right? Our pedir. And I will send you out to breakout groups, but we're going to look at the first three first. So vamos a ver. Let's separate these out a little bit and give ourselves some space. I want to divvy it up into threes. And remember, when we're talking about pedir versus preguntar, pedir is to order something or to ask for something, but preguntar is to ask information. To ask information, okay? So we're going to take these three first, send you out to some small groups, come back, compare, see what you got. Ask him where the bus stop is. Información or ask for?
Information.
Información. Okay, so that gives you a big clue here. He's going to ask you for your passport. Información or?
Object. You're asking for-
Yeah, here we're looking at actually asking for something. I want to ask him a question.
Information? Information? That's how I saw it, but
Well, okay. Go ahead and kind of chat about that. We'll come back and think about that. And that one, there might be some ways to kind of finagle around a little bit. Un poquito. Vamos a ver cuántos somos. Quizás cuatro. I think I'm going to create 4 rooms for us here. Okay. Tres minutos o 5 minutos? 3 o 5? ¿Qué creen ustedes? What do you guys think?
we have a 3, we have a 4.
Okay. 4. Okay. Aquí vemos. Here we go. Muy bien. You may need to take yourselves off of mute as you come back in, because it does that to you. Okay. Vale, muy bien. Vamos a ver. ¿Cómo se dice? Ask him where the bus stop is. First of all, ask him. Is that really happening, or are you telling somebody to do something?
It sounds like you're telling him to do it.
Yeah, you're telling somebody to do it. Okay. ¿Quién tiene una idea aquí? Who's got an idea on this one?
Well, I have an idea. I don't think it's right, but
Go for it.
Give it a shot. Juanita.
being wrong's never stopped me before. Le preguntas. I put le preguntas donde la parada de autobús, and then someone else said it should be donde está. We need a verb in there, but I didn't put. I don't know. Donde
Okay.
está didn't come
So
to mind.
let's take these pieces apart, because we will have to do that a little bit. And you know, this is good that now, if I just wanted to say you're asking, this would be okay. Le preguntas, that part there would be perfectly okay. Le preguntas means you're asking him, but now we want to turn it into a command.
Oh.
So, okay. And let's say you're just talking to somebody who's a friend. You're just talking to somebody who's a bud. Just ditch the us off of preguntas, and there's your command.
Just pregunta.
Le pregunta.
So the command is going to be pregunta, and we're going to tag something on to the end of it because it's a command.
Pregúntale.
Pregúntale.
Le. Oh no.
Le. Ask
Okay.
him.
So you're not
Dale.
saying le pregunta, you're saying preguntale.
Preguntale.
Could you say it even?
Preguntale.
There's an accent there. Ooh.
There is an accent there. It doesn't matter if you're speaking, because pregunta is pregunta, right? It needs, I mean, it needs an accent mark when you write it.
Okay.
But if you're speaking this, what? You don't hear you hear the accent mark when somebody says it correctly, right? You know, yeah. If I didn't put an accent mark in, so the reason it needs a written accent mark is that if I didn't do that in writing, it would sound like this. Preguntale.
That's not right.
And yeah, that sounds so wrong, right? It's because it's pregunta. Okay, so preguntale needs a little accent mark. Preguntale. Now, where the bus stop is, donde is great. Preguntale, donde, and now we do need an is.
Está.
So
Está.
está or queda.
Or queda. Muy bien. ¿Dónde queda? Ding, 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 ding. ¿Dónde queda? ¿Dónde está? Los dos son iguales. They're the same. No importa. Doesn't matter. Pregúntale dónde queda. Pregúntale dónde está. And now we need our la parada de autobús. La parada de autobús. Now, you know, in a pinch, if your brain totally is like blowing a fuse because you feel put on the spot in real life, and that, of course that happens. You know, if you just get up, pregúntale donde parada de autobús. They'll know what you mean, of course. They'll know what you mean, but it's nicer for it to come out as donde está or donde queda. Donde está en la parada de autobús, donde queda, right? So it's nice to have that está word in there. And notice what happens in English. Is winds up all the way back there. But is probably won't be all the way back there when we say it in Spanish, because donde está, this is the way they're going to group that kind of question, donde está. Because when you ask a question, it's always, donde está? ¿Cuánto cuesta? ¿A qué hora es? Right? There's always a question word like a qué hora, a question word like cuándo, when, a question word like dónde, where, and then here comes your verb right away. That's the word order. Usually that's how they chunk out a question. Question word, verb, question word, verb. So, ¿dónde está? cuándo es, cuánto cuesta. That's the way it always gets grouped together, okay? Pregúntale dónde está, right? Now, if I wanted to make a formal command, here's how it will go. We'll do this next week.
Okay.
Because knowing how to do knowing how to make commands can be important. Yeah, it can be. Pregúntele, pregúntele is the formal command. And look at the familiar command here. Pregúntale. It's just preguntas with the S ripped off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next week, we'll talk about how most of the time, if you give a familiar command, just rip off the S. And now you got a command. And I'll tell you the times when you can't do that, because there are times when you can't do that. Two commands are very, very finicky. That's why you want to stick to usted commands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there are fewer oddball things to have to keep in mind. Many fewer oddball things. Okay, so the usted command is just put on what looks like the wrong vowel. Use the wrong vowel. Preguntar is an a verb, right? We are, pregunta, preguntamos, preguntas. But, pregunte sounds like you did something wrong. Well, that's what a command does. That's what a command does. Pregúntele, pregúntele, pregúntale, ask him. But if you're talking to friends or people like, to a group that you've been together with for a while, it's probably a tu command, pregúntale. Okay. Bueno. ¿Hay preguntas? Any questions about that? Oh, no. That makes sense? Now, let's say you can't remember a command and it does come out as, le preguntas, ¿dónde está? Let's say it comes out like that because it's hard for you to think I'm making a command. Somebody will probably get that idea. You're asking him where they'll get the drift, but it will sound very out of sync because it's not a command. If you say ask him, you want somebody to do something, right? And le preguntas is not asking somebody, not telling somebody go do it. It's saying this is really happening. Okay, so we'll work commands next week. All right, now he's going to ask you. Now it's a fact, right? He's going to do it. Okay. ¿Cómo se dice? How do we say this? And the ask part, the going to is going to be a form of ir. Ba'a. If you put the L in, the L will be here. If you put the L in, el ba'a.
Pedirte.
Pedir. Pedirte, right? If it's familiar.
Right.
Va pedirte tu pasaporte. Tu pasaporte. Or it might be el ba'a. If it's formal, pedirle. If it's formal, you. If it's formal, you. Él va a pedirle tu pasaporte. Now, what do I have here? I've got, if somebody says this to you,
Sue.
su, perdón, gracias. Su pasaporte, gracias. If they just ask this of you, because I've got two verbs together, there's something I can do with that te or that le, depending on which one you use. I can do something else. I can swing that te or that le around someplace else.
Le va.
Sí.
Okay.
Él le va a pedir su pasaporte, or él te va a pedir a tu pasaporte. So it could be, we could swing the le up front if we felt like it.
Because it's va, you need the infinitive. You can't have the te before the pedir.
That, okay, right, all right.
But that's what I
So
did, but-
let's look at this little space right here. That little space right there is where a pronoun can never, never, never go. So this, guys, is like, whoops, this is like the forbidden zone. The forbidden zone. Never, never, never there. French does that. Spanish does not. So where that X is, you can't stick a pronoun there. Spanish does not like that. The one thing, and if you stick a pronoun there, you will confuse the bejesus out of that poor person. I mean, I have to think really hard to say, él va a le pedir. I can't even, I have to think very hard to say that because it's just not what anybody says. Le va a pedir or va a pedirle, te va a pedir, va a pedirte. It's got to be one of those. It's either the engine on the train or the caboose on the train, right? Think of this underlined thing. There is the train. El tren, el tren. There, el tren. There's the train. El tren. That stuff underlined, that's el tren. So it's got to be the engine right at the beginning or the caboose attached to the tail end. Okay. But it can't come in the middle. You can't do that in between thing. And that probably would truly confuse somebody. I mean, well, I'm not going to say they wouldn't understand you at all, but they'd be doing a double take and kind of thinking.
Okay. So in question 4, we could not have put the lay first?
No. Looking back here, we're looking at this one, right, Karen? Cici?
Yes.
Aquí, no, no es posible, okay? With el tren, with the train, you got a choice. Va a pedirle, le va a pedir, los dos son correctos. Those two are both correct. Yay. With a command, you do not have a choice. With a command, it must be one thing. An affirmative command, it is attached. A negative command, you do not attach. Okay. So
you are commanded to attach it.
you are commanded to, a yes command, do attach. A no command, do not attach. And we'll look at that next week when we do commands. Because pretty often you say, hey, tell him, right?
Mhm.
And or don't tell him. and they do two different things. A negative command, yeah, commands you don't get a choice. Two verb sentences, you do have a choice, and both are equally correct, and both are common, and nobody cares which way you prefer to do it. Okay. Yeah, see? Vale. Okay. I want to ask him a question. Oh, I want to ask. El tren. It's the train. Es el tren. Es el tren. I want to ask.
Okay. Quiero pedirle una pregunta.
Are you asking for something?
No.
No. So it won't be pedir. But there are going to be a couple ways to do this. So we're going to, okay. So we know it can't be pedir. So we got our 50-50 shot. Quiero preguntarle.
Una
And
pregunta.
wait, yeah, does that sound terribly redundant?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Okay, me too. So we're going to show you, it's probably just algo. Something, probably. Quiero preguntarle algo. quiero preguntarle algo, but I can because it's el tren, porque es el tren. Puedo usarle primero. Bien, entonces también es correcto decir que le quiero preguntar algo, ¿ok? And now I'm going to show you another little thing because I didn't think of this at the time, but there is another way to phrase this. Okay. Ask a question can be preguntar by itself. Just preguntar. Y nada más, nothing more. But sometimes people like to use this as hacer una pregunta. Make a question. So both of those terms are, they're the same. They're the same. So I could also say, I want to ask a question this way. Quiero hacerle una pregunta. And now that actual word question does reappear as this word question. Hacer una pregunta es equivalente. This is entirely equivalent to preguntar. Some people may ask it as te pregunto la cantidad de dinero que necesito. I'm asking you for the money, the quantity of money that I need. It's information, right? But hacer una pregunta is interchangeable with preguntar. Some people like to use quiero hacerle una pregunta, le quiero hacer una pregunta, doesn't matter. So there is a different way of phrasing ask a question, and that's it. Okay. A ver. Bien. Okay. Tres más. Three more. Let's take a look at, we're asking for the check, like you're in a restaurant, right? The bill. How much are they asking for those tickets? And I'm asking them for help. Okay. We have any commands in there? No. They're just facts. Just facts. You don't have to be thinking about any of that pesky command business. Bien. Okay. And breakout rooms will send you out for that. 3 minutos. You don't have to be thinking about stinking commands. Yeah. Es más fácil. It's easier. Oye, deja ya con la miau miau. Me quitas, ven aquí. Wow. Zoom funciona muy bien hoy. Wow, Zoom is working really well. Everybody came in back same time. Last week I was like, 3 people back, 8 gone. I'm like, where'd everybody go? Okay. Okay. Mucho más fácil. This first one was way easier, ¿no?
Sí.
It-
we
Sí.
think.
Magnífico. ¿Cómo se dice? We're asking for the check.
Pedimos la cuenta.
Pedimos la cuenta. Pedimos la cuenta. Pedimos la cuenta, bueno, sí, por favor, siempre por favor, ¿no? Pedimos la cuenta, por favor, sí. Entonces, pedimos la cuenta, no word for in there, folks. That for doesn't get translated. It's built into the pedir. It's built in. So you don't need, a stinking word for. Pedimos la cuenta. Okay.
Okay, so if we're doing that right now, this instant, could we say estamos pidiendo el cheque?
Sí se puede, sí se puede. Yes, you can. Estamos pidiendo, perdón, la cuenta. La cuenta es mejor. La cuenta is better than el cheque. La cuenta is just universally used as, the bill. Cheque does mean check, but like more, I'm writing a check for, to send in to the company, that kind of, more of that kind of thing. Estamos pidiendo la cuenta, estamos pidiendo. Right now, while we're speaking, you could use that. Sí se puede. Yes, you can. Okay, vale. How much are they asking for those tickets?
¿Cuándo piden billetes?
¿Cuánto piden por los, and now here, you get different words for ticket, billetes, entradas, if it's like an entrance to a concert, it might be that,
Okay,
or
so
boletos, depende.
Why-
Depends.
cuánto and not cuántos?
Sí, ¿cuánto?
¿Por qué?
¿Cuánto? ¿Por qué? Porque ¿cuánto? How much? How much es cuánto?
Oh, not many.
¿Cuántos?
How many is
¿Cuántos? How many? ¿Cuántos? How many? So ¿cuántos? You're counting up an actual amount. ¿Cuántos? ¿Cuántos? ¿Cuántos dólares? ¿Cuántos bolívares? ¿Cuántos euros? ¿Cuántos with a thing? ¿Cuántos next to a thing?
It would be incorrect to use preguntar. I was thinking you were asking for information. You're asking
Yeah,
much tickets. You're not asking for the tickets. You just want
okay,
information.
so here's something that's important. Actually, I put this in for a specific reason. The first clue was ding, 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 asking for. Anytime you're asking for, it means there's an exchange going on.
Okay.
Wait.
Marilyn?
And this is pretty common, you want to ask, you're at like an open air market and you're asking, hey, how much are you asking for this? Because there's no price labeled. ¿Cuánto pide? How much are you asking for? Yeah, okay, y sí, pregunta.
Marilyn, can I ask a question?
Sí,
Why
sí,
did,
sí.
why did you put por los billetes?
Oh, why did I put that in?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I just thought it was
Sí,
another one
yes,
of those
okay.
Spanish things that we had to learn.
Why
No,
would
that
it be-
is. You know what?
Eso.
Yes, it
Eso.
is. Okay, no, we do use por in this case. I know.
We do.
Wow, here we go. Yes.
See, it is-
Okay, why? you know, and this just comes out. So now I have to think to explain to you why. Why? Because now we're talking about an exchange, and por is always in exchange for. So because, okay, yes. It's because the question is, how much are you asking in exchange for this thing? So now we do need the word por, where normally you don't. Normally you don't need por, but in this case you do, because you want to know that exchange.
Oh, okay. So if it's
Yes, so,
those,
perdón.
I had esos. I was thinking esos for those tickets.
Oh, those tickets, sí. I wasn't even looking. Esos works, yes. Esos, sí. Esos billetes, esas entradas, esos boletos, sí. Yeah, normally you don't need a for, in this one you do, because when you're talking about money being changing hands, por comes back into play. It does. They're all, I know, aren't there always these little things? See. And quite often, you know, you were asking how much that person wants, so you want to know a price. Keith, ¿tienes pregunta?
See, so way back when you taught me when I'm going to the market, it's outside of this exercise, but my brain says, oh, I remember this from Maryland. So if I just go, ¿cuánto cuesta por biletos?
Sure. Another, yeah. So always we're thinking about workarounds, right? Workarounds are good. They're good. ¿Cuánto cuesta? Here it would be cuestan. ¿Cuánto cuestan esos billetes? Sí. This is a good workaround. You don't want to deal with, you know, ¿cuánto pide usted? How much are you asking for, right?
But if you're not asking them, you're asking somebody else. How much are they asking for? That was your question. So.
Yeah, how much are they asking? ¿Cuánto cuestan? How much are they asking for? But yeah, if you're talking to the person, how much are you asking for? ¿Cuánto cuestan? Well, ¿cuánto cuestan? Yeah, cuestan here is really looking at billetes. Cuestan is really looking at billetes, because the person doesn't cost anything. The thing that you're buying costs something. ¿Cuánto cuestan esos billetes? And cuestan is really looking back at billetes. Sí. So it's a little different kind of workaround. Instead of piden, how much are you guys asking, right? How much are they asking for? Then it's looking at the they are asking an amount, right? But here, cuestan is looking at billetes. How much do these things cost? Because costar is a different kind of verb than pedir. Pedir, the person is asking for a dollar amount, right? Or a monetary amount. But costar, a thing or a group of things, cost a certain amount. So, eso es. Okay. Bien? I'm asking them for help.
Les pido ayudar.
I'm asking them. It's just a fact. Les pido ayuda. Boom.
Could you say les estoy pidiendo ayudar?
You could if it's very immediate. If it's very immediate, sí. And we'll talk about that yet another time. Les estoy pidiendo ayuda. In Spanish, we don't use this estar with an ing unless it's happening in the moment as we are speaking.
Right.
So, sure. Les estoy pidiendo ayuda, yeah. Les pido ayuda, sí. Igual. ¿Ok? ¿Vale? ¿Bien? Ok. ¿Más preguntas o no? ¿No? ¿Nada? ¿Nada? Ok. Vamos a ver. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at, are you guys ready to order? Ooh, to order, it's going to stay as a what?
Infinitive.
Sí. Uh, let's ask when the bus arrives. The reception. Ooh, muy difícil. This one's tough. The receptionist is asking for you, is asking for you. This one is going to be tough. Eso es difícil. It is tough. So I am going to give you a little clue with this last one of the receptionist is asking for you. That is going to use preguntar to ask for a person. That's kind of a, but you know, when you think about it, somebody answers the phone. Oh, they're asking for you. Somebody comes to the door, they turn around, they want somebody, they turn around, they look at you. Hey, they're asking for Bill. Hey, they're asking for the boss. Yeah, that happens kind of a lot. So, okay, that last one is going to use preguntar. I'll send you off 3 minutos, 3 minutes. Aquí vamos. Here we go. Muy bien, yay. Aquí vienen todos. Here comes everybody. Aquí vienen todos. Muy bien. Ah, okay. ¿Cómo se dice? Hey, you guys ready?
Oh.
Estamos listos pedir.
¿Están listos?
Están listos, sorry. Están listos
Sí,
pedir.
para pedir. Para pedir. Why is it para? It just is. Están listos para pedir. In order to do that. Yeah, I know. There's no real reason for me to give
Order.
you. Están listos. Están listos. And if they're looking right at you, they're probably not even going to bother with that word ustedes. It's implied. They might say, están ustedes listos. But you know, they'll probably drop the ustedes if they're looking right at you, walked up to you, están listos, están listos, you guys ready, están listos para pedir. Okay, anytime you're ordering something.
Don't forget to share your screen.
Perdón, gracias, gracias. Aquí viene, here it comes, mucho mejor. Están listos para pedir, ¿no? Están listos para pedir, okay. Let's ask. ¿Es información o a cambiar? Or are we asking for something in exchange?
Información.
Información, claro. Okay, let's ask.
Preguntamos.
Preguntamos.
Autobús salir.
Okay, preguntamos. And really, if you want to get picky, now they'll totally understand you. It will not blow their minds if you don't say pregunte. Preguntemos is more like let's.
Ah,
It's a command again if you say let's, but if you say preguntamos, it still works. Not confusing to say as preguntamos instead of preguntemos, but preguntamos. Preguntamos, when?
¿Cuándo?
¿cuándo? ¿Cuándo sale el autobús?
Cuando sale el autobús. Cuando sale el autobús. So what sounds maybe a little odd for us in English is to get used to this kind of a chunk order. Cuando sale. ¿Dónde está? Cuando sale. Cuando viene el autobús? When the bus is coming. Cuando viene el autobús? We match up the question word, the cuando, with the verb.
Okay.
And those two usually get chunked together. Okay. Preguntamos cuándo sale el autobús. Preguntemos is more like a let's, but you know, you won't confuse anybody if you just phrase it as preguntemos. It won't confuse anybody at all. Okay.
As a workaround, can we do preguntamos cuando salir autobús?
Cuando salir?
Salir?
No.
No?
Well, pues.
Because that's the only word.
Will they know what you mean? Yes. Will they know what you mean? Yes.
Okay.
But it will sound like.
When are you going to, when
Let's
should we
ask-
leave?
Let's
Bus?
ask when to go. Let's ask when to leave the bus.
That's not the same thing.
Yeah, and salir will sound like to leave. So it will sound a little odd. Will they know what you mean? Probably. But it'll give their brain a hitch. Yes.
We don't want to do that.
Well, you know, think of how we react when somebody speaks English and they're trying really hard. But you know, it comes out like in some odd combination. Ask him when to go to store. You know what they mean, but you have to kind of think a little, you know? Yeah, okay. All right. The receptionist is asking for you.
I don't know, I thought it was pedir, asking for.
I know, but yeah, this is one of those things in that video. When you ask for a person, when you're requesting their presence, and that is preguntar. So this is kind of a trick question. That's why this is last. That's why this is last. I know it is asked for, and that's supposed to be a ding, 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 ding. But in this case, when you're asking for someone, you are requesting their presence, right? And that is always just preguntar. So we're going to take a look. ¿Cómo se dice receptionist?
La
It'll be-
recepcionista.
La o el, depende. Depends on the sex of that person, right? Recepcionista.
Está preguntando.
Está preguntando por ti, por ti o por
It's not
usted, right? Depende, depends. It might be instead of está preguntando el, yeah,
So it's por and not para.
yeah. Yeah, and that is just something to get used to. And again, probably, well, I mean, unless you are asking for somebody, that'll come back as they're asking for you. It's something you're probably going to hear more than you're going to say. El recepcionista pregunta por ti. Pregunta por ti. Pregunta, if you don't use the está preguntando, right? Está preguntando. Do we need a little review on the está and the ando yendo?
I think
A little of that? Okay. We'll make sure we fit that in too. I'm kind of mentally checking out when I would fit that in. Okay. A ver. Probably, yeah, we probably won't be able to fit that in next week, but the week after we'll do that. Okay. Pregunta por ti. Pregunta por ti. Okay. See? Bien? Vale. These are all very different situations, but, you know, a little bit of a mixed bag of these. Okay.
Marilyn,
Sí,
in
sí.
that last one, you wouldn't have used te, like te
No,
pregunta, because it's not an indirect object?
no. Because it's following the word por. Por is a preposition.
No, but I'm saying instead of saying por ti, could you say te pregunta?
Then he's just asking you something. He's not asking for you.
Okay. I
He's,
see the difference.
you could say te pregunta. You could say te pregunta, but then that changes the meaning. Te pregunta means he's asking you something. He's asking you, how much does this cost? He's asking you, when do I have to pick up my dry cleaning? Okay. He's asking you some kind of information. Te pregunta. But asking for somebody, asking that, requesting that person's presence, right, is what you're doing that. If they're asking for you, they want you to come to the door, to come to the phone. They want to talk to you. That kind of asking for you. Okay. Bien? ¿Sí? Vale. Okay.
Sí.
Más? Okay. A ver. Okay. I want to give a little bit of time. No hay mucho tiempo. I want to give a little bit of time to that Atrapados episode, el episodio de Atrapados, that trapped thing, see? Hay preguntas. Are there any questions about that little Atrapado Destinos episode?
What's the next?
Sí, from Destinos. Oh, sí, atrapados. Okay, sí. And they had an example of preguntar por. I should bring it up. So you can actually see, if I can find it quickly. Si puedo encontrar la. Perdón, momentito. Vamos a ver. Quizás, I've almost got it, I think. Es un milagro. And I have two very noisy cats fighting, so disculpen, please excuse my noisy pets that I can't yank out right away.
Intentó varias veces comunicarse con Arturo por teléfono, pero no pudo.
Y quizás no. Maybe no. Quizás
En el-
no.
Y hubo
¿Dónde está? They had an exact example of that. Tengo que. Aquí viene. Here it comes.
A no más de 15 minutos. En el hospital le dan información a todos los familiares.
Mientras Raquel y Ángela buscaban a Roberto, Arturo llegó al hotel en la Ciudad de México. Allí preguntó por Raquel.
Señorita Raquel Rodríguez.
Preguntó por Raquel.
Llegó al hotel en la Ciudad de México. Allí preguntó por Raquel.
Preguntó por Raquel. He asked for her. He thought she was checked in. Preguntó, it just makes it a pass. Preguntó por Raquel. He asked for her. There it is. Preguntó por Raquel. He wanted to speak with her in person. So he asked for her. Sometimes don't we say in English, they ask after someone as well, which is really weird when you think of it. They ask after somebody. What the heck does that mean, ask after? But you hear people phrase it that way in English sometimes. Preguntó por Raquel. Allí está, there it is. Yeah. So there was an exact example of what you just did. Okay. Eso es. Okay. Hay más preguntas. Are there any other questions about what happened there? ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó?
I understood what happened, but at one point she says, nosotros tenemos carro. Not un carro, just carro.
Oh, tenemos carro. Yeah, we've got a car. Tenemos carro. O traemos carro. We came in a car. Yeah. Don't get too hung up on whether or not they used una. It's just
not a big deal.
We brought a car. Yeah. It's just not we brought the red car or we brought the big car. It's just we brought a car. We got transportation.
Generic car. Okay.
Sí, y no importa. Doesn't matter. No importa. Okay. ¿Y qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó con don Fernando? ¿Qué pasó con don Fernando? ¿Está mejor o está peor? ¿Está mejor o está peor? Peor. Don Fernando está mucho peor en el hospital. ¿Qué necesita don Fernando? ¿Qué necesita? Necesita especialista. Don Fernando necesita especialista. Bueno, ¿hay especialista en el hospital? ¿Hay especialista? Is there one?
No, Guadalajara.
There is, but he's gone till the end of the month.
There is. Yeah.
Como siempre, like always.
Like always.
Sí, hay especialistas, pero no está. Sí, entonces sí, está en Guadalajara, entonces hay que buscar. Buscan, they're looking for. Buscan a otra especialista, ¿verdad? Ok. Vale, busca. Y hay especialista en Guadalajara, sí. Bueno, a ver. Y entonces, practicaron un poquito con partes del cuerpo, ¿verdad? Partes del cuerpo, los ojos, la nariz, las orejas, la espalda. Una cosa con espalda, cuidado con la palabra espalda. Careful with that word back. Back is one of those words that is really hard to translate. Espalda literally means a back, or sometimes it might be used to refer to back around, like behind another building, maybe. like the same way we would use detrás, behind, maybe. But when you want to say come back,
No, not that bad.
you don't use espalda. Espalda is for part of the body in most cases, or it might be for something physically that's back to back. But careful with that word back, because we throw out the word back in English a lot. And that's why you can't translate word for word. Come back.
It's like
Back doesn't-
return.
Yeah, back
Right.
doesn't even get translated. It's regresa, come back, or vuelve, come back. But the word back doesn't get translated at all. So, cuidado. Saben por qué, you know why, because that happens. Okay. Yeah. Okay. ¿Hay más? Any more?
I'll start saying.
Oh, no. Nada. Okay. Vale. I
I
will
know
give you.
they used queda a few times.
They use queda a few times. They used queda
Yes.
a few times when Pati was staying with the little kids, playing games with them to keep them occupied. Pati, la tía, the aunt, right? She goes, me quedo aquí. I'll stay here with the kids. Me quedo aquí. So, that was just one of the times at least that they used that. And I think they use the queda with some other things. Oh, one other thing I do want to point out to you guys. Una cosita más, one more thing, because I have this down in my notes. Es importante. This is kind of an important thing to know, because this is a thing that confuses people, but it's actually pretty easy to figure out. Hay una diferencia. There is a difference between using these three words. They all come from the same verb. Hay versus hubo versus había. They all come from this verb haber. Haber can be used in a few different ways, but sometimes haber, often, many times, colloquially, in conversation, haber is used as an impersonal verb. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that only one form of that verb is used. So it will not go into a whole bunch of forms. Haber very frequently is used in an impersonal form, because it's what we used to say there is, or there was, or there used to be. Okay? So if I want to say no hay especialista, there is no specialist. No hay especialista. Here's the word for there is or there are, and it's used for both of those ideas. No hay especialista. Okay. No hay carro. There's no car. Okay. Hubo is a past, but it has to be used in a very, very special setup. Hubo is there was past, or there were, only if you're talking about an event. Okay, so the way they used this right up front was hubo un accidente. So you will hear hubo in very limited circumstances. And those limited circumstances have to be something regarding an event that took place, and it's done. Hubo un accidente, hubo una fiesta, there's an event. Hubo una reunión, there was a meeting. Hubo un incendio, there was a fire, that's a real event, yeah. It has to be an actual event that is done. But most of the time, if you want to say there was or there were, and you're describing stuff, and you're describing something, it's going to be había. Okay? Okay, un ejemplo. I'm going to give you an example. Un ejemplo. Por ejemplo, el sábado, el sábado hubo una fiesta magnífica en casa de mi amigo. Hubo una fiesta enorme en casa de mi amigo el sábado. That event took place on Saturday. So, and it was an event. So, hubo. But now if I go on to talk about what happened at the party, había mucha gente en la fiesta. Había mucha gente. There were a lot of people there. Are people an event? Había mucha comida. Había cerveza, pero no había vino. There was beer, but there wasn't any wine. If I'm just describing stuff about the party, it's going to be había. There were people, había música, había una banda. There was a band, there was music, because I'm describing what the party was like. But hubo una fiesta en casa de mi amigo. A party took place. It went on that Saturday at my friend's house. So that's the difference. So most of the time, you're not going to hear hubo that much, but you'll hear había a lot, because people will describe what there was going on. So
Now, isn't había the imperfect tense?
había es imperfecto. Había is imperfect, and that's why it's a describer. So when you talk about, what was there at that party, whether it was people or stuff, things, it'll be había. But when you heard in the video, atrapados, they drove up to the barricade and the guy said, hubo un accidente, there was an accident. No se puede pasar, you cannot go through. No se puede pasar, hubo un accidente. You can't get through, there was an accident out there. They were talking about an event that happened, and that's why they put up the barriers. See, entienden? Okay. But they go up to the hospital. Había 20, 30 apellidos. There were 20 or 30 names on the list. 20 or 30 names on the list is not an event. It's what was on that piece of paper. It's a description of what they saw. Había muchas enfermeras. There were lots of nurses. That's who you saw at the hospital. A description. Yeah.
So is hubo preterite then?
Hubo's pretérito.
Okay.
And it's very infrequently used. You have to be talking about an event that's done and over with.
And is there an accent mark on the?
No.
Well,
Hubo no. Había sí. Había. Había sí.
So
Pero
it's
hubo no.
it's an irregular kind of.
Hubo muy irregular. Hubo is a very oddball verb, but it's always hubo, and it's always I am presente, and it's always había. It will never flip-flop into some other form.
Oh, okay.
Because you're talking about there were nurses, there were names on a list, there was beer at the party, there was no wine at the party. Oh, but an accident, there was an accident. Yeah. So it's always hubo, it's always había. It's never going to be, and hubimos kind of, no. It's never that. It's always hubo, it's always había, it's always I, what's there right now, I. Bien? Vale? Okay. We're going to spend some time next week talking about commands. And these are things you're principally going to hear people say at you a lot, so that you know that they're asking for something to be done. Okay? We're going to talk about commands, how they can be formal, how they can be familiar, buddy. And we're going to talk about antes and después in practice, antes and después. So what I'm going to be sending you, because I was going to do that, but we ran out of time. What I'm going to be sending to you will be a little file, and it'll have like some baby steps things of antes and después with questions that you'll use in small groups so that you can prep. And antes and después used in a different kind of thing where you talk about what you do before some kind of event or a time and what you do after, so that you start thinking about antes. Here's what often happens. People say the word antes, and I kid you not, I think this is what happens, and it's because of English. You say, I know it's before and after, which one is after, which one is before? And people say antes, and they think antes, after, a. No, sadly, it isn't that. You know, antes is before. So think antes, think antebellum. The antebellum period in American history. And the antebellum is before the Civil War. Ante is from the Latin of before. So antes always talks about what happens before. Después always talks about what's after. But I'll send you a file so that you can look at that and kind of sort it out. And we'll do some practice with that when we come in next week. Because it's a matter of just remembering antes, before, después, after. Yeah?
A comes before D.
It comes before D.
Karen, exactly.
Does that work with the numbering in years? I don't know. No sé.
Well, you know.
No sé. I don't know, but we'll give it a go. And it'll be a good chance to practice in some smaller groups. ¿Está bien?
Sí.
Está bien. Magnífico. Gracias a todos. Thanks to all. I went over, perdón. Disculpen, excuse me. Okay, nos vemos la semana que viene. We've got 2 more sessions. We're going to do commands. I will fit in some ing stuff the last day because that's an easy thing to learn and easy to use, like right out of the box. Bien, okay. ¿Está bien?
Adiós.
Vale, magnífico. Nos vemos el miércoles entonces. Que tengan buena semana. Have a good week.
Hey, see, and don't give up on getting that vaccine.
I won't give up. It's gonna.
Marilyn,
I just read they expect very shortly there'll be a surplus.
Sí.
Because they'll get a ton more vaccine and then it'll be available everywhere and it won't be a problem.
Tardamos unas semanas. We're taking a few weeks. Tardamos unas semanas. I check twice a day. Por la mañana, por la noche, por la mañana, por la noche.
check early morning whenever you first get up, if you're going to try the state sites, and just hit what radio button you want for which site and just do it over and over about 20 times because cancellations appear. I have 2 friends that got appointments just this week.
I had an almost from, I think it was a cancellation.
Oh, right.
I think it was a cancellation.